Have you guys ever watched I Am Legend? Spoiler alert, by the way, for those that haven't watched it. There is a really, really sad scene, and I was thinking about it today, and then my mind exploded. Um, so y'all remember the dog? I believe his name was Sam. It was Will Smith's character's dog. And right at the very end, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, he gets bitten and he slowly starts to turn. And at the very end, dear God, just thinking about it, I could, tear up like a bitch. But it got me thinking, why did I care so much about that dog, but not the, you know, thousands to millions of deaths that were inferred by it? Now, of course, you can, talk about desensitization and things of that nature. Um, but it made me think of a very poignant and kind of scary aspect of life that I had never really thought about before. After a little bit of discourse, I eventually came to the question to myself, which would I rather see get killed? A puppy or maybe a newborn? And, that's a tough call. And so the first thought was, well, they're both helpless. They both can't defend themselves at all. The dog maybe a little more so, but not by much. Um, and then went to cuteness, and I immediately thought the puppies were much cuter. Because, man, I've seen some babies, and some of them are just ugly babies. I mean, I don't know. Have you ever been to the hospital and you go see somebody and they're like, oh, look at the picture of my baby. And you're like, yeah, that's adorable. I really hope his head levels out when he gets older, because right now it's a cone. I really hope that's something that fixes itself later. And, so long story short, after a few different reasons, I still choose, I would probably save the puppy's life over a human. But that's not the point of this video. But then, of course, it led to the discourse of, is life special? Is life inherently special? Is it inherently worthwhile? And to that, I actually, at this point, I would have to say no. I mean, I look at all the animals across the world, and, it's just birthing, and, babies are being born, and puppies are being born, and all kinds of mammals are giving birth to other mammals, and insects, and all these things are just every second. There's just thousands upon new bits of life coming into this world. And I don't think that's special. Not at all. It happens so much. How can something that happens so much be so special? And I can hear all 4 Christians that are going to watch this video and go, no, 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 no. You may not think they're special, but God obviously does, because, He's got a plan for them. He set their, their birth and everything in motion. He set their life way ahead in time. And to that I say, thank you for proving a point. You don't think that all life is special. So remember, I started this off just saying that life is special. You think that human life is special. Which this kind of talk kind of leads straight into abortion. Who do we have right to kill or not kill as far as infants are concerned? Or, can they kill them at a certain time? It's a big debate going on about that. But then it got me wondering, if somebody were to ask you to kill them, to put them out of their misery, would you do it? What if you were on the jury to decide the fate of a psychopathic serial killer that's going around killing tons of people brutally? Would you vote for their death? What if somebody broke into your house and was trying to kill you? Would you defend yourself? Would you, go as far as killing them in return to guarantee your safety or the safety of your family? You can justify that killing, can't you? You can come up with morally rational reasons to why they should die. You know, they're a detriment to society. You know, we have to spend money to keep them in prison. It was either me or him. The person was suffering. And I didn't want him to suffer anymore. We can justify those reasons. If we can come up with a number of reasons that are rational, justifiable, and even moral to kill a person, then why can't we do the same with a fetus inside of a womb? Is a fetus's life more important, more special than a grown man's life? No, not at all. We can come up with plenty of reasons to justify killing a fetus inside of a womb. I mean, it could be detrimental to the mother. It could kill her if trying to have the baby, which we've seen in a number of cases. Or the child may not be able to be raised properly by the mother, and it could end up living its life suffering, not having enough food or clothing. And again, we see that all the time, especially in these poor countries, these third world countries like Africa, where children's lives are just miserable. We can come up with reasons to justify these things. Now Christians are going to come along and say, but no, children's lives are special and babies' lives are special because God has a plan for them. You don't know what he has planned. Maybe he has something, maybe something good will happen from it. And now I'm just going to assume for the sake of argument that God exists, okay? But you know what? So if that's the case, and it's true, and there is a God's will, then okay, fine. You're right. I have no idea. And I did not think of that. However, did you think about the guy that his future in God's will of the man that asked you to kill him because he was suffering? Did you think about God's plan about the guy that was a psychopath that was killing people and what God could possibly do with him? Who knows? Maybe he gets his life turned around, he gets saved, and who knows what kind of good he could do. And did you consider God's plan when you were in a situation of self-defense, protecting yourself from a man trying to kill you? Should you have thought about that and not killed him instead? Who knows? Maybe he could turn around and do some good too. Even the same with the guy that wanted to die. Maybe God could have miraculously healed him, and who knows? Maybe his life could have gotten better. But you didn't think about God's will for those things. But for children, you do. In the case of an abortion, how do you know that in God's ultimate wisdom and his natural desire to do an ultimate good, that an abortion was his will for that child? That it ended the child's future for suffering and pain or misery or anything of that nature? You don't. You're not God. You don't know his will. You don't have a right to tell somebody not to do something. And for those of you that are going to claim that God would never use an abortion, I want to call out your hypocrisy right now. When you can look into the world and see children dying, thousands of them by the minute, and millions more every second in between, and then can look at that and say, well, God is still good. His ways are greater than our ways. His ways are incomprehensible to our feeble little mind, but I know that he's doing good. But then when all of a sudden someone throws out a morally justifiable way for God to do something to end suffering for one child, then you want to tell us that we're wrong? You want to tell us that's not how God operates or how he does things? All of a sudden you know what he does? You're all of a sudden the megaphone for what God's intentions are? Hypocrisy at its finest. So the point is this. If you're a Christian and you believe God's will goes for a child all the way to a grown man, then you're sure not acting like it. Now, since most of my subscribers are atheists and that Christian argument really doesn't do much for them, I might as well address your concerns as well. As I've said before, I don't believe that life is inherently special. Living is not special. Think about all the creatures, and humans included, that are living right now. All the millions upon billions and even trillions of animals that are, that are giving birth to things, or laying eggs, and all this kind of different stuff, all throughout history. Living is not special. And if you believe that life is special, that life is inherently special, then do you feel that those kids in Africa right now that are starving or live just long enough, a few months or a few years or half a decade or whatever, just to die, do you think that they're special inherently just because they were born? I don't think you do. I think you believe they have potential. They have potential to be special. They have potential to do something. If somebody were to go in and grab them, take them the hell out of there, they have potential to do something greater than you or I, or who knows. Their life is potentially special, not inherently special. And then what about somebody that is, say, have special needs? They're mentally handicapped, or anything of that nature. Is their life special? I mean, to many people, it can be seen as a detriment to society. It can be seen as a detriment to the ones raising them. It can make their life so much harder. Are they special? I mean, we have some, cases of kids that, I can't think of what the syndrome is called, but, they have the mind of an adult, but a body like a child, and they can't move, they can't function, they can't do anything. Are they special? Are they inherently special? No. And potentially special? I'd have to say no to that either. Now, I'm not saying we should kill them because they're a detriment to society and, or anything of that nature. But, man, that's just me personally. Their lives are not special. Their lives are more of a burden. And many of them aren't even aware of it. And it's kind of scary. It really is. You hate to look at people that way, but that's just how it is. There's a video circulating by Richard Dawkins called "We Are the Lucky Ones." I highly suggest you go look it up. It's really inspirational, it's really good. I'm probably still going to have it as for my funeral. I have that and that movie featuring Neil deGrasse Tyson. Well, not a movie, but video clip. The Most Astounding Facts. It's just so. It's just so poetic and so, especially with the video and the music, and you get a tear in the eye, and I already can cry like a bitch for no reason. But it's called "We Are the Lucky Ones." This Richard Dawkins video, and it's basically just saying, we didn't have to be alive. We didn't have to be here. We're the lucky ones that actually got to experience life. But I also kind of disagree with that. Because we talk about, people that are suffering. Just living alone doesn't mean that you're lucky. If you're living in a comfortable life where you have more good than bad, and you live in, pretty decently, yeah, you're lucky. But living alone doesn't do that. Because people live way worse lives, and I hardly classify them as lucky. I know this is a little darker than you wanted me to get, and a lot more introspective as well, but I promise I'm going to end this on a high note. I'm not a nihilist, and nor do I think that life is meaningless and blah blah blah. No, I don't think that at all. In fact, one of my favorite quotes actually comes from Mewtwo. The Pokemon, from the Pokemon movie. And he says, "I can see now that the circumstances of one's birth is irrelevant. It's what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are. Now, of course, when I was 13 or 14, that blew my mind. But of course, I was 13 years old, so, that doesn't take much. But it did teach me that, each individual life is special. Even though right now I don't say it's inherently special. But what you can do with it, the potential that you have. You have so much potential, and you can do a lot of things. So even if you're born in a crappy situation, and even if you were raised in a crappy situation, you can still overcome that. And you can still come out better. Don't give up on yourself. You have no idea what it is you have to offer. Go out and explore. Figure it out. Make this world a better place. Alright guys, this is the Atheist Chef signing off. Thank you so much. If you disagree with me, please change my views. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me what I'm seeing wrong. Tell me what you feel. Everything that you hear tonight is just basically what I've learned all the way up to this point. I'm willing to change my views if that be the case. I'm willing to be wrong. I was a Christian once, so, I'm totally willing to realize when I'm in wrong. So, let me know. Let me know what you think. Did I change things about how you feel? Did I help you see things a little bit differently? Let me know. Alright guys, that's it. I'm done. Peace. Double peace. Yeah, peace. He gets bitten, and he slowly starts to turn, and at the very end, dear God, just thinking about it, I could, tear up like a bitch. But it got me thinking, why did I care so much about that dog, but not the, thousands to millions of deaths that were inferred by it? Now, of course, if you guys ever watched I Am Legend, spoiler alert, by the way, for those that haven't watched it, there is a really, really sad scene, and I was thinking about it today, and then my mind exploded. So y'all remember the dog? I believe his name was Sam. It was Will Smith's character's dog. And right at the very end, spoiler alert, newborn. And, that's a tough call. And so the first thought was, well, they're both helpless. They both can't defend themselves at all. The dog maybe a little more so, but not by much. And then I went to cuteness, and I immediately thought the puppies were much cuter. Because, man, I've seen some babies, and some of them are just ugly babies. Talk about desensitization and things of that nature. But it made me think of a very poignant and kind of scary aspect of life that I had never really thought about before. After a little bit of discourse, I eventually came to the question to myself, which would I rather see get killed? A puppy? Or maybe, I don't know, have you ever been to the hospital and you go see somebody and they're like, oh, look at the picture of my baby, and you're like, yeah, that's adorable. I really hope his head levels out when he gets older, because right now it's a cone. I really hope that's something that fixes itself later. And, so long story short, after a few different